Hello and welcome into today's video. In this one for today, we're going to be sharing with you what is the best coaching funnel to run if you want to hit 100K months. So this is best suited for any of you that are doing kind of 20, 30K months and you're trying to scale up. Maybe you've been trying a couple of things. Maybe you've been trying to scale up your ads, maybe you've been doing some organic as well. And you're trying to work out, hey, what's the best thing for me to be able to hit 6-figure months in my coaching business or info product business. Now, if you are new here, my name is Alexander Mehta. I've been in the info and coaching space since 2018. And in that time, I've worked with hundreds of clients spanning from the health niche all the way through to wealth creation and everything in between. The purpose of this YouTube channel and videos like this one in particular is to be able to share down the lessons with you of what has worked and what hasn't worked. I've got nothing to sell you. I'm currently focusing on growing my own coaching businesses and the other businesses we're partnered with. The entire purpose of this video is just to be able to share down the lessons to you guys in terms of what is working so we can cut through the BS and the noise of the coaching industry. So with that said, let's jump into today's video. All right, so what is the best funnel for online coaches in 2026? Now, that's normally the first question I get asked by a client when we start talking. They always go, okay, well, what's the best funnel I can run, right? What can I do to be able to hit those goals I want? The second question always comes down to, I want to hit 100K months. What's the best funnel to be able to hit that as well, right? And it's typically these things kind of come hand in hand, especially with clients that come through and they're trying to scale as aggressively as possible, or maybe they've been doing this for a little while and they're trying to understand what their next thing should be or where they should be spending their time. It's always about how do we hit 6-figure months. So in this video, that's exactly what we are going to cover. Now, in terms of what's the best funnel to use, I want to clarify something, right? Everyone always thinks there's one funnel that will be your saving grace, that will take you to glory, will give you everything you want, and in the end, get you to 6-figure months or $1 million a year or beyond that. Now, I want to be very clear. There's no best funnel for everyone. And what we're going to cover through this video is breaking down all the different types of funnels that you can use for your coaching business or your info product business to be able to get leads in and then turn them into clients on the back end, whether you sell MRR on the back end or it's more of a high ticket done for you or something like that. We're going to break down the funnels and show you what is working the best in 2026 and what is best for you depending on your situation and what you're doing, who you're serving, right? So there is a best funnel for you, may just not be best for your friend or for someone else you know in a different industry or a different niche that is coaching as well. So we want to be able to break down what you can actually see as the best quality funnel for yourself to get the results you're after, and then you can make the decision in terms of what you want to do. So here is what most coaches do when they first start out coaching or they start to see some success. Maybe they're hitting their kind of 20, 30K months and they start to go, okay, well, I've got something here. They phase out their day job and they start to really focus on this and start to scale this up. They start to look at what everyone else is doing, right? So, oh, yeah, here we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so they start to look at what everyone else is doing, and they might look at the big gurus in the space and look at the VSL funnels and all the rest of it. Here's the problem. You don't know that person's back-end financials, right? You don't know what's going on in terms of how much it costs for them to get a client. You don't know the lifetime value of that client. So what happens is you end up pretty much copying a funnel that may not be possible for you to be able to run. It may not be feasible, it may be too expensive, and it may not also relate to the type of client you're bringing through. So one of the things I want to touch on quickly before we jump into what the best funnel is for you, I want to break this stigma of, let's look at the guys that are up here, the guys that are doing $100,000 a month, that are doing $1 million a month, $5 million a month. Let's not just copy them because we see that they're getting success from it. And let's break down what their situation might look like, what our situation looks like, so we can build the best funnel for ourselves and for our goals in terms of where we're trying to get to. Because the other thing is as well, if you've got one of these big businesses and what they're doing, you need to ask yourself, is that the kind of business you want to build as well? Do you want to have a big team of 50 salespeople and things like that as well? So it's really important we look at those factors, and we also look at what's on the screen right now is more so the financials of the funnel. So a lot of these bigger funnels, they go into the red to acquire a customer because they know the lifetime value on the back end is so much higher, right? So we're going to break this down. obviously the question you need to ask yourself is, can you match them? If you are trying to copy a VSL funnel, can you match what that person is doing? Because if you can't, then you shouldn't copy them, right? So most VSL funnels that are doing over $200,000 a month are happy to go in the red by thousands of dollars because they sell 30K to 100K on the back end. So if we break this down, the quick example of this is, could you spend $5,000 to get a $3,000 customer, right? If your instant answer is, well, that doesn't make sense, or no, I can't, then that's your answer in terms of running that funnel that someone else is running. Because here's what you're competing with. You are competing with people out there that are willing to go into the red on the front end. They're willing to spend more than that customer will bring them initially in that first transaction to be able to get the customer long term, and then they upsell them and cross sell them other things. So if you've only got one thing that you're selling them, maybe it's a $5,000 high ticket offer, coaching program or something like that. So the lifetime value of your client is only ever going to be $5,000. Then you need to look at who you're competing with and what you're trying to build to see if it's feasible for you, because it might not be, right? So here's what you can do instead. Actually, we'll look over here. I'll break this down quickly. To break down this is what some people at a higher level are doing that maybe you're not doing at the moment, right? They might spend $5,000 on ads. They bring in $3,000, and we're using small numbers here for the purpose of this to illustrate it. $3,000 in revenue from that customer. So that means they are $2,000 down on the P&L. It costs them $2,000 to acquire that customer. But the lifetime value over 12 months might be $30,000. So they might pay $3K on the first transaction, but there might be 5 other transactions after that, or maybe it's just an upsell of like $27,000 on the back end that people upgrade to. So the lifetime value might be $30,000, in which case the acquisition cost was only $2,000, right? But you get a 15x return because you've turned 2,000 into 30K here. So 15x return. So that's where sometimes you may look at, how are people running so many ads and it being profitable, when I know for me, it's costing me $100 to get a low ticket customer, or it's costing me $30 to get the lead to sign up to a webinar, or whatever it is, right? Or $10. When you find that point of where you go, it's too expensive for me, the math doesn't make sense. What you need to understand is that other person that you're competing against probably has other things in the back end that they're selling to cross-sell, upsell, to lift the longer term lifetime value. And it may be longer than 12 months as well, maybe a 3-year lifetime value that they're willing to go in the red for. If we look at like big SaaS businesses and things like that, that's typically how they will run too. They're happy to go in the red for years because they will bring the enterprise value out of the back end as well. So that's something just to keep in the back of your mind when you're wondering, I'm spending a lot more on my ads. How are these people making it profitable? They're selling more on the back end, right? So it's important that you do have back end upsells that you cross-sell with as well. That's going to mean that you have a bit more firepower in terms of your AOV and what you can spend on the front end. But knowing this makes it easier for you going forward. So let's now break down some funnels and how they work in terms of a few factors and what you might want to consider before you start using them, and then what might be best for you and your scenario. So what you can do instead is you can identify the right funnel for you. Now, this is going to come down to a few things. This is going to come down to your time. It's going to come down to the capital that you have, your economics, your style, your clients. All of these factors are going to play a part in what type of funnel you want to run. So, for example, if we look at time, you want to make sure that the funnel you're running aligns with the type of time investment that you have. Now, this may be like how many hours per week do you have to commit to it? It might be how quick to get results. It might also be the sales cycle of how long it takes to turn a lead or a low ticket customer into a high ticket person or someone who's a proper paying client on the back end. How long does it take someone to upgrade or ascend? These are all things that you'll want to think about when it comes to the time aspect, right? you also want to think about as well, not just in terms of getting this stuff up and running. So let's say publishing the funnel or building it, but we also want to look at maintenance. So that might be things like sales calls. When we're thinking about time, it might be, do you want to spend hours and hours on sales calls, right? Or would you rather just you jump on a one-to-many call, like a webinar or something like that to sell people, or you have an offer doc or however that might work, or use other videos in the back end to be able to sell people. These are all questions you need to ask yourself and you need to get very clear on to be able to ascertain what is the best solution for yourself. Because there are some funnels out there that are fantastic, but they require a lot of time. And for most people, they don't invest the time, they invest in the team to be able to fulfill on the time side. So if you don't have a big team yet, then that's going to be all down on you. It may take you a longer period of time to actually build this out to get it going. And then it may take you too long to even optimize things and then do the maintenance side of it as well, or take all the sales calls. So you need to really have a think about what does your day-to-day look like and how much can you invest into this on a time aspect. So then when we get to the next stage and we look at which ones take more time in terms of the different funnels, you've got an idea of, oh, well, I know it's going to take me about this much time and I've only got this to give. That's probably a better solution for me, right? Because then what you can do is you can start with one funnel, get yourself to a certain period to where you can maybe afford to bring on team members and things like that as well. And then from there, it's easier for you to scale, right? It's easier for you to be able to push into another funnel and jump into other things as well. So that is it for time. The next one is going to be capital. So let's look at capital for a second. Now, this is obviously quite straightforward. You've got expense to build, right? Are you going to pay someone to build it out? How expensive is it? Say, for example, if it's building out a low ticket offer funnel with upsells and people are building your products for you, it's going to be quite expensive for someone to build out. Whereas if it is just like DM ads, for example, or IG follower ads, quite inexpensive, right? So you want to look at what does your capital look like that you can deploy right now to get this stuff built for yourself. If you're going to build it yourself, then great. That kind of comes into the time factor. It'll be capital in terms of a runway as well. For some funnels, there's a lot of testing involved to get that market message fit where you are outlaying cash for a long period of time before you see that come back, right? So you need to be able to know, okay, I have 10, 20, 50, $100,000 that I am able to put out there. And I know that this part I'm willing to lose. So say, for example, you wouldn't risk $100,000 typically because you can get leading indicators to tell you if things are working or not. But say, for example, if you're going to run a VSL funnel, it would be wise to have at least $10,000 to $20,000 there of, I know that I'm going to have to spend this to continually test to find the right customer before things start working. And then at that point, it will pull you out of the red and it will start putting you into the green. And then you can profit really, really well. If you limit yourself on that fact and you don't have a lot of money to play with right at the start, it can become really difficult to find the right outcomes from your testing and do enough testing to be able to shorten the cycle and the time of being able to figure out what works. So this is another thing as well. You have capital in terms of how much you are spending to test things, but that is also going to affect the time side of how quickly you can start running things through, right? How quickly you can optimize the market message fit, how quickly you can optimize the sales side on the back end, that the close rate is good, that the show up rate is good, all these things, right? If you have a bit more money there, you can spend a bit more on your ads, you can get more people through. It allows you to test quicker, right? Which obviously then means it allows you to get to the point where you are getting consistent results quicker. So that might shorten to a month rather than 3 months, for example. So there are two big things there for capital. Obviously, the other thing comes down to then team as well. Can you afford for the team side? Maybe you want to have someone there to help you with these build outs and things like that as well. But they're kind of the main things. I'd say the biggest thing here you need to consider is your runway, right? How much cash can you deploy? And depending on how the offer works and the funnel works, can you run without getting results or can you run in the red, right? Just gonna have a little sip here of some coffee. All right, let's continue. So next one is then economics, right? Now, economics comes down to what we're talking about before with the big guys in terms of how far can they go into the red. Like we just spoke about capital in terms of a runway, but economics is more so in terms of what you spend, your AOV, so your average order value when someone purchases, your lifetime value, and more specifically as well, when we're looking at, just want to draw a line here, when we're looking at short term, we also want to have, so I'm just going to put short-term stats here, or leading indicators, or leading KPIs. We also want to look at if we get a certain amount of people opt in, or we get a certain amount of people book a call, the percentages here, right? Or the cost per call, then the show rate, then the close rate, depending if you're doing a 1-call close or a 2-call close. How does that affect the rest of the funnel, right? Because that can make a very, very big difference. For example, if you have 100 opt-ins, we're just going to do simple stuff here. Let's say that say that 10 book a call, so you have 10% book. Just make sure you guys can see this. Yep. Let's say that you have 6 show, so 60% show. And then from there, you have like, let's say you have 2 close, right? So you have about a 30%, it's like 33% close rate. Obviously, these are just very simple numbers. From this point, you want to be able to see then the revenue. So let's say you're selling a 5K product, you had 2 close. Let's say it's then like 10K rev. We want to be able to see them based on the spend, how this relates here, how these relate as well, right? So it's really important that you model out your numbers. I don't think enough businesses actually model what the economics looks like, because then you can see where's the point of if you don't hit these numbers, you're going to see that you go in the red, or that you're not going to get the results you're after. For example, you might see that you can tolerate a 60% show rate, but your close rate can't drop below X. It can't drop below 20%, or the math doesn't math. It doesn't work anymore, right? So you want to be able to know what these percentages look like. So then you have KPIs or leading indicators to shoot for. So you understand your economics better, and you know what you need to look at with the funnel to know, okay, is this working, right? Too many people, they'll spend money on ads, and then they'll get people coming through and they go, oh, I'm not closing them, but they're not really sure what's not working, right? And when you're trying to focus on what is the best funnel for me to be able to get to 6-figure months, or beyond that, whatever, it doesn't matter where you're trying to get to. It doesn't matter if you're trying to get to 20K months, 100K, $1 million a month. You need to know these numbers back to front, because it's going to give you the ability to understand what to focus on and what to fix as well. Because if you see that, for example, you book 10, but 4 show up, and then you only close 1, well, then you know that one thing that could probably help here, because if you look at, let's say you got a 40% show rate, and then you've got 25% close rate, both of these are down. Actually, it says both of these are down, but what's going to be the easiest thing to solve? Because that is where it comes in really important. It's not necessarily looking at what do we need to solve, it's what is the lever that we can pull that is the easiest one to pull. One of them might be super heavy, hard to pull down, right? That may be something that you go, okay, we look at that later, but something that's easier to pull, a different lever, maybe you focus on that first. And there's a couple things that you can look at. You can look at, okay, well, is the 25% close rate, if it's over a long enough period and you have an average, an accurate piece of data here as well, it's like, well, is there something going on with the closes, right? Are they just having an off week, right? And it might average out at 33% by the end of the month, depending on the time frame here. Or you can look at 40%. Well, 40% from 60%, it's quite a big drop. And in most cases, show rate doesn't just drop out of nowhere. It either drops because of lead quality, so you've changed something on the front end with your ads, or something's broken in the funnel in terms of automations and things like that. So that's where you might want to look at, okay, that's something we can do a quick check, see if any automations are broke. Oh, wow, all our email domains are, something happened with them. The SMS aren't going out. People aren't adding the call to their calendar. You fix that in 2 minutes and then boom, you're back up to 60%. So that's where you really want to look at what are the easiest things to fix there. But knowing your economics also helps you with what kind of funnel you're going to run, right? And it also will help you with another thing is how good you are with the math side as well. I think too many people, they will go like, oh, I'm not good at that thing, right? The fact with running a business like this, particularly any kind of business, but particularly these types where you need to really know your numbers back to front, it's really important to learn that, because when you learn that, you're going to be able to predict where you're going to be. You're going to be able to make changes, see what's not working a lot clearer, and you're going to be able to move further along in your journey. Now, the next thing on the list is your style and then your clients. So let's jump into this quickly. Your style. Now, this is quite simple. This is just coming down to, we're getting into preference stuff here as well, right? There's certain funnels work a little bit different, and you might have a different style about you. You might not like filming all the time. And if you're running a like if you're doing something organic related, you're doing something like DM ads, which typically require a bit more organic for once people follow you on Instagram, to be able to then convert. Obviously, yeah, the setters involved and people like that, but typically organic helps a lot on that front. You might go, well, that doesn't really work for me because I don't really like filming all that often. And there's a thing here of, well, you could do it and you'll probably get best results, but you also, why fight the natural line of the type of business you want? If you want a business where you don't necessarily need to film all the time on social media, it's 2026. We have enough funnels available to us, which is the whole purpose of this video, for you to be able to do something different, right? You don't need to adhere to the masses of doing what everyone else does. If there's something that suits better to you, for example, maybe you don't like sales calls. This is a perfect one. But you're okay with doing one-to-many. So maybe instead of running sales, or you don't want to run a sales team as well, these are all things that come into it, then maybe you're better off doing a webinar, right? You do a once-a-month webinar or twice-a-month webinar, and there's different ways to do it. You can run a paid ticket and things like that, so it runs a bit differently, but maybe that suits your style better. So I want you to really start to think through, what is it about how you like to operate your business, how you like to operate your life, how you like to teach as well, and how does that attribute to your style and what you like to do, so you get an understanding in terms of what funnel might be best for you as well, because we'll break this down in a moment. The next one is going to be your clients. And this is really, really important. I think most people often overlook this a little too much. Whether you are going to the general public, you're going to business owners, you're going to people with money, and you also need to look at with time or without time. Typically, the two kind of parts you want to look at the most are, do they have money, do they not have money, do they have time, do they not have time, right? They're typically the two biggest ones. That's going to give you an idea in terms of when you do research on this and you understand it back to front of the type of person you are trying to bring through as a client. Each individual one is going to adhere to a funnel better than the other one. Just quickly, we'll break this down in more detail. But a VSL funnel is very quick. Someone just goes through, watches a 5-minute VSL, and if they've got intent and they want to solve the problem, they'll go and book a call. Much better suited to someone who's got more money, and that's going to work better than putting them through a 30-day challenge. They just don't have the time for it, right? And also you're going to extend the sales cycle of trying to get them through. You're going to lose people on the cracks. So that's where it's really important to think about, okay, what type of person am I trying to service here? Am I trying to bring through? And what does their life look like? Do they have money to spend, but they're short on time? Okay, great. We're going to give them a funnel that brings them to me, gets them in the sales conversation in a quicker time frame, right? But if there's someone who maybe they don't have a lot of money, maybe they're the general public of people, don't have a lot of money, but they've got time, and what you're trying to sell them is to earn more money, or a way, like a business opportunity. Then with that, you might do webinar style challenge, something that can get them in. Typically, that might need a bit of a change in belief or mindset. So you need a bit more time with them, rather than with someone who's got money. They're like, I've got this problem, I need to solve it. Their mindset's already there. So there's things like that to think about as well. So I'm just going to put here a bonus point. Mindset. Think about the mindset they're in, emotionally, and how they make decisions, right? A lot of people, particularly in the general public, they might be a little bit more, they need convincing about if they can actually do it. They understand the model works of whatever you're teaching, but they don't believe in themselves. That might require a little bit more than a 5-minute VSL, and a sales call. At that point, they're like, well, this was too quick for me. So that's where you need to think through those things as well. So that is all for what you need to focus on, right? So in terms of your time, your capital, your economics, in terms of how things work, your style and your delivery, how you actually want this to perform, and what you want to invest into it, and the clients you're trying to serve, right? All really important. Hopefully this is valuable for you guys. Now, let's now that you understand what you need, let's break down the options. Okay, let's break down the different types of funnels and what this looks like. So most common is these kind of 5, right? 5, and there's a couple of breakdowns in between. We'll zoom out a bit. These are probably the most common. There's a couple of different things, you got quiz funnels and things like that. But in terms of what people are using the majority of, and what you're probably looking at of the best funnels and what I should choose between, it's going to be one of these guys. So you've got the VSL or book a call funnel. Someone goes from an ad to a landing page that has a short video there, and a booking, like a calendar option underneath. The idea is obviously that you're trying to get them booked into a calendar very quickly. So you call out someone with the direct problem, then you get them to book in a call. It's the fastest funnel typically. The next one, 2 different types of low ticket offers. So you can run a low ticket offer funnel that is self-liquidating. Maybe you have an ad to a landing page, they buy the low ticket offer, you have some water bumps in the checkout, and then you have an upsell, a downsell, maybe a second upsell, second downsell, and then maybe they book a call after that. Typically, you see a lot more decision fatigue throughout, but you see people spending more money as they go through, so you can self-liquidate, right? That's the whole purpose of that one, opposed to the next option. So you're trying to get back as much money as possible for what you're spending on ads, and ideally self-liquidate on the ad spend, be at a break even. But the other part of that as well is, because of the decision fatigue, when you offer a book a call at the end of it, the end of the funnel, there's less people there that actually have made it through all the steps of the funnel to then be able to book a call and see that page. But there's also less people that have the intent or want to book a call because of this decision fatigue. So you often see higher liquidations, so you can bring in leads or buyers for free, but it's harder to book them on a call. So you got to do things on the back end. Or you have another version here, which is the call focused version, where you have low ticket. Then in the checkout, there's a couple of order bumps there with help with liquidation, and you might sit between 40% liquidation to break even, typically 40 to 70%, depending on what you're selling and the scale you're at. If you're spending more, if you're spending $10,000 a day, you're probably going to be at a lower liquidation, just naturally. If you're spending under $1,000 a day, you're probably going to be, on ads I'm talking about, then you're probably going to be up closer to like 60% or 70% liquidation. If it's done right and the offers match the audience, they match what you're also selling in the low ticket offer as well. The purpose of this then is that after the checkout page, you go straight to book a call, and you book a lot more people into a call. There's a couple of different ways you can book people in, but typically you're booking at least 20% of those page viewers into a call, or 20% of your low ticket buyers rather. Right, so they're the low ticket ones. Then you have pretty standard DM ads or IG follower ads. You're getting, you're putting an Instagram ad out. That's typically a boosted post or something. Some people running the ads manager these days. You're trying to get people to come through and either send you a message on Instagram or follow your account. And then you've got a lot of nurturing content there. You have a setter that sends sends messages out and tries to nurture them as well to get them to book in a call. Pretty standard stuff. And finally, webinars, right? And webinars have two different ways that you can do it. You got the free and the paid version, right? And we're going to break these down in a bit more detail, but free being someone can get a ticket to the webinar, can attend for free. And the paid version, obviously, they have to pay for a ticket. So maybe that's an event, that's a challenge, or it's just a simple 1 or 2 hour webinar, but they just got to pay for a ticket, right? So let's jump in. Now, I'm breaking this down based on what we spoke about before. So those things that you need to look at in terms of time, capital, economics, those breakdowns, and then we're going to break it down per funnel. So let's start with capital first. So I'm going to switch to here. So capital first. I would typically say that a VSL funnel is going to be one of the highest capital inducing funnels that you can run on the perspective of the runway. So like I mentioned earlier, you are going to need with a VSL to get market message fit if you've never run one before, with a caveat on this, right? If you've run them before and you understand what works, then you might be fine, right? You start booking calls, you're making sales, you're in the green, fantastic, right? If you haven't done it before and you're seeing other people with a VSL funnel, you think, wow, that's quite simple. It's just a landing page with a video and a calendar. I can do that. The hard part about a VSL funnel is market message fit. If you don't get that right, you are outlaying cash without it coming back to you because you're not getting people to book calls, you're not getting people to, or you are, but people aren't signing up, or it's a hard sales process. You're going to need to spend a bit more until you work it out. And then it goes, okay, now it's working, and then it takes off, right? So that's why I put 3 red dollar signs here for the VSL. It's typically more expensive in terms of the runway. In terms of building it out, not that expensive, right? Low ticket offer, self-liquidating. This one, in terms of runway, is going to be the best option because you are self-liquidating. So if you spend $1,000 on ads, you will bring through the $1,000 back before you sign a high ticket client. The reason I like this for a lot of people is typically if you're a bit short on the capital, it allows you to get in the game. It allows you to start competing with the people that are maybe a little bit further ahead than you and spending a bit more on ads, because what you spend, you can get data and you can learn from, and then you can iterate and make things better. But even with your testing, you're still getting paid to do it. Rather than the VSL funnel where you're not liquidating and bringing money back through until you get the high ticket sale, with the low ticket, you could spend $10,000 in a month on ads. You could bring through that whole $10,000, or maybe liquidate 80% and it only costs you $2,000 for the month. Even if you didn't sign a high ticket client on the back end, you may only be down $2,000, right? So you're able to learn there for not a lot of cost. With the VSL funnel, you might spend $10,000 in your first month, if we're using the same numbers here. And if you don't sign a high ticket client, then you're down $10,000, right? Obviously, it comes into however further along you are in your journey and your risk-taking ability, $10,000 might not be much to you, right? It just depends where you're at on your journey. I'm just using these numbers for the sake of it. Now, with the low ticket option, the cool part about that is, say you spend your 10 grand, you only bring back 8, or you bring back at all, it allows you to the next month to go, okay, cool, we can go again. We can put another 10 grand down. With the VSL funnel, you might go, oh, I just wasted 10. Do I really want to put another 10 down? So typically I'd find, even if you've got the cash there, psychologically it plays with you and it makes you think, well, do I really want to put that down? Which then stops your testing ability. And it means you kind of, before hitting the point of where you're actually going to see the growth, you then stop. If you've ever seen, there's like a famous image where there's kind of 2 parts of the photo. There's one at the top and one at the bottom. It's split in half, right? And the top one is someone in a mine shaft, and they've dug out. We'll do a very bad rendition here, but you have a setup like this in the photo, and you have here's all the diamonds, right? And you have a guy. I hope you like my stick figure. He's got his little his pickaxe, but he's walking this way. So he's turned around just as he's about to get to the diamonds, right? But then you've got this guy here, the same thing, all the diamonds, and you've got this guy, and he's still there. He's going that little bit further. That's with a VSL funnel. That's what I'm talking about, right? You may pull up after month 1. Pull up after month 1, and you only got to here, or to here, where month 2, might be here and it's full of diamonds, right? So if you exhaust your last bit of funds, you may find it harder to keep going. With the low ticket funnel, you might get to here, but you can still keep going. Okay, so it's a very simple example that hopefully that is tangible and makes sense. Now, you then have the low ticket offer funnel that is call focused. That is going to still bring in some self liquidation. It's not going to completely liquidate. That's why I put a green, one green dollar sign there, right? It's good, but it's not fantastic. You may get to the end of the month and say you spent $10,000, you may bring back $4,000 or $6,000. You may still be down, but you've learned something out of it. You're in a better position than the VSL funnel typically. Then you've got DM funnel or DM ads or follower ads. Similar to the VSL, you got the same thing. There's no way to liquidate here until you get your high ticket sale on the back end. And with that, I think typically it's a little bit less cost than the VSL funnel. So it's got $2 signs there. So again, if you've got capital to spend, you may look at those ones over the low ticket ones. If you don't have capital, you may look at more of the low ticket ones. Caveat to that though, if you've got capital, look at the low ticket call focus one. It can be a good option for you. We'll continue on. So free webinar and paid webinar. For the free webinar, same thing as all these other ones. If you are trying to get webinar signups and you're not charging for a ticket, if you're outlaying money until you run the webinar and see if you can sell people. If you then don't sell anyone on the webinar, which is typically unlikely unless you have a huge messaging mismatch in terms of who you're calling to attend to the webinar, and then your offer just doesn't work for them, or you teach too much in the webinar. If you get those three things wrong, you might not make high ticket sales on the back end, or whatever you're trying to sell on the back end. So then it can be expensive, right? On the paid webinar version, obviously, if you're charging for a ticket, maybe you've got an upsell for a VIP access, or maybe you've got some water bumps there of things that benefit the person, help them get closer to the goal they're trying to achieve. You can, again, two green dollar signs, you can liquidate on your ad spend. We've seen plenty of paid traffic webinar events where someone will charge $10 for a ticket or $5 for a ticket. Then they sell a couple of things as an order bump and they sell $97 VIP. We do it with one of our partnered clients that we have at the moment. And you can liquidate on your ad spend. So you get to the webinar with people that have paid to be there. So they're typically better clients or better attendees as well. You can get huge show-up rates in comparison. But then from that as well, you're actually able to sign them up. And it doesn't matter even if you didn't get any high ticket signups on the back end, because you already self-liquidated. So that's why I like the paid webinar version. It does two things over the free webinar version. It allows you to self-liquidate. So you can get into the room and already be making money or already have covered most of your costs. And two, it gets a much better show-up rate. Typically, a normal free webinar will be 20 to 35%-ish. Like if you're doing well, 40% show-up rate for a free webinar where someone hasn't paid for a ticket. For a paid webinar, you can be anywhere from 60% and above. We've seen some of them with 500 registrants up around 85% attendees. So really, really cool show-up rates on that side. Now, so let's jump into time here. So time to build more so. VSL funnel, you can get it done in 7 days. It doesn't take a lot of time. Low ticket offer, that's self-liquidating with all the different products. If you have the products outlined, typically you can get it for around 14 days. This is like general kind of stats I'm talking about here of what we've seen based on, I've sold coaching programs to people on building out low ticket funnels. So I'm verified in knowing how long it takes people to do this kind of stuff. Same thing with VSLs, same thing with all the rest of it as well. We've done all these funnels, so I've got a good understanding of what it takes someone to build this out on average. Granted, some people do it a lot faster, some people take a lot longer. These are the average numbers. Then a low ticket call funnel, 7 days, very, very quick, right? Low ticket offer, checkout page, book a call. Very simple. It's very simple, very similar to a VSL funnel, really. The only thing is it will take you a little bit longer if you don't have a low ticket product. Obviously, then you'll need to build this out. I am looking at times to build things if you already have the products built out. DM ads, follower ads. I say 7 days here because I'm talking about doing it well. You could get an ad up in 30 minutes. Of course you could. But is your Instagram optimized, right? Have you got the right posts on the page to be able to show people what you do? Have you got enough testimonials on there? Have you got the right team in place, or do you have your setter SOP down pat if you're doing it, right? Do you know what you're doing on that side? Also, do you have videos that you can send to people, YouTube videos, nurturing videos to be able to help people through and nurture them. So that's where you should have all those things set up to be able to help you have the best chance possible before you start spending money, particularly because it is one of those ones where you are spending money and outlaying. You'd be better off building this stuff out, which you can do in 7 days if you work diligently. All right, next on the list is free webinar. About 14 days for this one. You've got to script the webinar, you've got to build it all out, you've got to get the ads going, you've got to get email sequences on the back end, text messages to be able to get people to show up, particularly with show up rates being pretty terrible, like around 30% for free webinars. So I'd say about 14 days at least. And paid webinars, 30 days. If you're doing it properly, if you're building out all the right nurture sequences and everything like that, you're building out the products that are focused with it, it's going to take you about 14 to 30 days typically. So that's probably going to be one of the longer ones on here, but I find it converts quite well. Now, ongoing effort. This kind of comes down to style that we were talking about before. VSL funnels, they require some testing, of course. I find they require less testing on the funnel side, more on the ad side to be able to get the right people through and get that market message fit. You can test headlines, you can test the VSL, you can test questions in your application forms. Doesn't take a lot of effort, if I'm honest. It's more so about just making sure you're calling out the right people. Low ticket self-liquidating. There's high testing involved on this because you have multiple offers. You're trying to increase conversion rates to increase average order value to then increase your self-liquidation because you're trying to break even. So there's no joke here that it is a lot of testing involved with self-liquidating offers. A lot of people find it quite time intensive. Low ticket call focused. Again, a green one here. It's similar to the low ticket self-liquidating offer, but because you only have a low ticket offer and a couple of order bumps that are related, you don't have all the upsell pages. I find it's quite easy. All you're trying to optimize for is, especially because it's more forgiving on the front end, you know that you're going to sit between 40% liquidation to 60%. You're not as worried about the liquidation. You're more worried about, do people book calls and am I calling out the right people to come onto these calls? So that's typically where the testing is involved, which is similar to the VSL side, which just comes down to market message fit of your ads. DM funnels and IG follow ads. I find this is constant effort because you're constantly needing to upload new content to your Instagram, right? You're probably filming YouTube videos, you're filming Instagram organic content. And if you don't have a setter yet, you are the setter that's constantly in there messaging people, which is not as necessary with these other funnels as well. Free webinar, medium effort on this side. I think you'll probably want to optimize things over time. You need to film new ads and things like that. So I'd go medium effort on that side. It's not too time intensive. Paid webinar is going to take a bit more from your plate though, because oftentimes you're going to want to be able to see, okay, how can we make sure that the ads are performing better, that we're self-liquidating more on that side, the offers we're including. So you're going to have more testing involved. Now, final one, very, very important, client type, right? So client type, VSL, we typically look at, because it's typically a faster process. Like I mentioned before, it's someone goes, I have this problem, you call them out on the ad, then you say, here's the solution. If you're interested in the solution, go and book a call with my team. It's fairly straightforward. A lot of them have money back guarantees and things like that as well. It's not super necessary, but that does imply that we're going straight to someone that has the problem and that is already fairly solution aware. Maybe they're not product aware in terms of what you offer, but they're aware that there's solutions out there and you're saying, hey, I can help you with your thing, jump on a call. So they know it's a sales conversation from the get-go. So typically people that are business owners or have money, but then they're not being on their time factor, right? They don't have a lot of time. Low ticket self-liquidating, typically general public, it works best for. You are going towards someone that has to then consume all these products and things like that as well. It's typically a longer sales cycle, 30 days plus, for a full self-liquidating offer, especially if you're selling things as different upsells. People will often, if they buy that, they will think, oh, I want to use this and see if I get results before I then commit to the next thing you got to sell me. It's just natural, it's part of that. So you are more using a self-liquidating low ticket offer funnel to be able to build a database of buyers and then be able to have good lifetime value and longer term value out of these people as well as you upsell and cross-sell them. They typically need a bit more nurturing too. Call focused. Now, here's the thing. A low ticket offer funnel that is call focused, I find it can appeal to both sides. It can appeal to general public and also people that have money, are short on time. I find it's typically people that are more in the mindset of being outcome focused. They're thinking about the outcome they want. they buy a low ticket to solve that outcome. So this is why it can relate to a rich person as well, or someone that wants to solve an outcome quick, because they sit there and go, that thing solves that outcome, that problem I have. Great, I'll buy it. And then because you go straight to the book a call, the book a call needs to be positioned in a way where it can help them with the other things that they'll need to solve that's adjacent or parallel to what they just bought to solve, right? So say, for example, you have a, let's see if you can, so you have a timeline like this. Hopefully you can see this in yellow. Maybe I'll, let's change this. So you have a timeline like this, pretty horrible timeline, but you're selling them in the low ticket, something that solves this part here. But then they have all these other steps to get to their end outcome here. What you'll do is this will be your low ticket and you'll sell them that, but then they book a call to be able to solve all these other things, right? So that's how it can still work for someone who has money who has money and is a bit short on time, because obviously you don't want them to go through and have to start implementing on all these other things as well. So you can do it that way. All right, let's move this over. Okay, so that's for the low ticket call focus. Now, DM funnels, IG follower ads, I find is really good for people who are skeptical or kind of a sophisticated market. If you look at, say, if you teach people how to become high ticket closers, it's really difficult to sell a low ticket offer for that. We've tested this, we've done it many times, and we've found it just doesn't really work. With a VSL funnel, people are typically a bit more skeptical. Your costs are going to be a lot higher. With DM ads or IG follower ads, that particular audience wants to come in and trust you. They want to see the credibility. They want to suss you out and go, okay, do you know what you're talking about? Do I trust you before I even book a call, right? So that's where a DM ad or an IG follow ad might work best in that scenario. If you have someone who's you have a market that's a bit more skeptical than other markets, right? And I'm talking, you've tried other funnels and it's not really worked, and you've followed them to the T as well. If you've just seen what someone else has done and you've tried it and it hasn't worked, well, just make sure you followed it properly before you push it to the side, right? But that's where skeptical or sophisticated markets, where they've been smashed with lots of stuff before, can typically work quite well with that. And that kind of comes into as well with webinars. Webinars does a similar thing. I find that free webinars better for low to medium income, and they have a lot of time because you might do a 2-hour webinar. And then you got paid webinars are typically for higher income, or maybe sophisticated markets and things like that as well. So hopefully that helps. Now, here's what I want to cover. For most of you, if we look at this graph again, you will notice that there is a trend here, and the reason I've done these colors in green and red to show you kind of what's good, what's bad. Obviously, like I mentioned, it's different for everyone, but one thing that I have found that works really well for a lot of people, not everyone, but for a lot of people, is the low ticket funnel that is call focused, right? Because it is easy to run, where it doesn't cost you a lot in terms of runway. It's quite simple to set up. It only requires a little bit of testing, and it's outcome focused, so it can go for most audiences, right? Most audiences it will work for. So I find it's a pretty happy medium. So that's where for most people the best suited is in fact low ticket. But low ticket, that's call focused, not self-liquidating, which is what most people focus on, right? Why? Like I mentioned before, it's low investment. There's varying levels to complete. So I find with low ticket offers, you don't need to start with everything sorted, right? You can start with the low ticket offer and the book a call page, and then you can add in a different order bump. You can add in nurture sequences. It's got bolt-on things that you can add. It doesn't need to be set up from the start, ready to go. Whereas like a low ticket self-liquidating funnel, you need to have all the offers there, the upsells and the downsells, because otherwise you're not going to self-liquidate. You're not going to achieve the purpose of the funnel or the outcome that's going to be, right? It works for most niches. It's easy to scale as well. I find that with low ticket offers, compared to VSL funnels and IG ads and things like that, you can get to spending multiple thousands of dollars a day quite quickly. So as soon as you get your market message fit there, it's easier to go from a couple $100s a day in spend to $1,000 to $2,000 to $5,000 a day in spend. I know maybe depending on where you're at in your journey, $5,000 in ad spend might sound a little scary to you. When you're liquidating on that and you spend $5,000 and you're getting enough through that you know the economics work, you'll be surprised how easy it is for you to turn up the dial. With a VSL funnel, it's a little bit more difficult because you know you've got to wait and you could be burning cash very quickly, right? So I find it's a little bit more, it's a little easier to scale and a little bit more forgiving as well, right? You are bringing back that cash, which is quite good. So what now? You've watched this video. I've gone through and given you an idea in terms of what might be the best funnel for you. Obviously, again, you want to work out your time, your capital, your economics, your style, and the type of client you have. You want to go through all those 5 things. What now? The best thing you can do is just go test. Go test your first low ticket offer, right? Do a call focused offer funnel where you have a low ticket product and then you have your checkout page. And then after that, you have your call. And so that someone can book a call with you. And it's a really good way as well for you to be able to get on more calls with people and be able to see, okay, what's the quality like? What do I need to change with my ads? What's happening here? What can I do to make this better, right? And you can get market feedback very, very quickly. And if you want extra help on this, like I mentioned at the start of the video, I've got nothing to sell you. I'm completely focused on my own coaching business. I don't have anything else to sell you. I have some consulting stuff, but the main thing you can do if you want help with this is comment below with your questions, right? I'll film a video on it and I will help you through with what you need to learn to be able to get this up and running. The entire purpose of this channel is to share the lessons that I've learned with you guys and help you guys achieve the same level of success. So thank you for watching today's video. My name is Alexander Mena. Comment down below with any suggestions you have for other videos. Follow me on Instagram at @itsalexandermena, and hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.